Hey, we're live. We're doing
We're
it.
live. So this first session with Taylor, and can you introduce yourself just so people know like who you are?
Yeah, my name is Taylor Beebe. I am a strength and nutrition coach out of the Bay Area of California. I've been doing strength coaching for close to 5 years now, nutrition close to 3. I would say I specialize with athletes lately, but have pretty much done Gen Pop up until this point. I just had a few opportunities that kind of developed out of some relationships that I had previously with just people that I've met in the gym. So, yeah, that's kind of where I am.
And I asked Taylor to be my nutrition coach over the course of this fun experiment that we're doing. So this is our first session together, and Taylor's also agreed to have a little discussion with me about different topics during these sessions as well. So I say let me start off with the nutrition part, and then we can end on our fun discussion.
Okay, that sounds great.
I've been logging, trying to log.
Pardon me, I'm going to go on my phone to look up your data.
Yeah.
I know it's bad etiquette, but just so I can pull up what I was seeing across the board. So, and then let me just, really quickly, if you can do me a favor and tell me, so I don't have to be rude, go on my phone, your current age.
Currently 39.
Okay, perfect. And current height.
5'5" and 3/4, and those 3/4 are very important.
I wholeheartedly concur. I'm like 5'1" on a good thing. Excellent. And then your approximate weight.
149.
Okay, perfect. So what I'm doing right now is I'm going to use a website to give me an idea of what your BMR, your basal metabolic rate is, so the amount of calories your body burns at rest just being a body. But then it also gives me an estimate based on your activity level. And we're going to use that to give you some macros to try and aid you through this nutritional journey. So in conjunction with what you've been tracking over the past week, I can kind of tell you where you might need a little bit more of a specific macronutrient or maybe a little bit less. So you are training 2 times a week, is that
right? Yeah, I will be. I mean, right now, but I'll be training twice a week with Sam for the first 3 weeks, and then once a week. But I'll probably be doing 3 lifts a week.
Okay.
And then 2 days of cardio.
Okay.
Unless Sam says something different, but that's what I'm currently doing. I don't know if he'll fit that.
Cool. So now I'm going to set some macros for you based on the caloric intake or the caloric recommendations that it gave you. So we're going to say you're going to exercise 1 to 3 times a week. Will be a little on the conservative side, only because to me it did look like your intake overall was a little bit on the lower side. So I'm going to put you at around 1850 in terms of your calories. Does that sound like a lot to you, or does that sound about right? Like any thoughts off the cuff on that number?
I really don't know how much I intake usually.
No, and that's okay. It's just sometimes, especially at the beginning of a nutritional journey, especially for someone who maybe has been chronically under eating, that number can sound really intimidating. So I just want to make sure that
it sounds high to me for some reason.
Right.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, how much I don't know. Like,
and that's totally fine. So I know that I don't have the list pulled up in front of me. I don't know if like talking about reverse diets or things of that nature was maybe a topic for a later conversation. But sometimes that number can seem intimidating because we haven't really been capturing all the data we need to be capturing. So having a higher number is almost better because it's a little bit permissive in a way. So you end up getting a little bit more accuracy in terms of what people are tracking and maybe why things aren't lining up. So maybe I've been eating 1,300 calories for so long and it just doesn't work for me to lose weight. Are we really eating 1,300 calories, or are we really averaging around 1,800? We're not capturing everything, and that's why we're struggling to maybe see compositional changes that we
Okay.
It's like you were definitely getting below 100 grams per day. I would say that's on the low side for someone your age and at your activity level. So I'm going to say protein is going to be around 100 grams a day for you. And then carbs and fats, I'm going to set those numbers. But if the carbs seem high and you want more fat, that's okay, as long as you're sticking to the overall caloric total. So I'm less granular about the carb and fat preference, only because I want you to eat what you like. And as long as you're still within that caloric goal, I don't care if you want to go higher fat, lower carb, or higher carb, lower fat. I would like it needs to be something that works for you, your lifestyle, and your preferences. So the protein is going to be important just for overall body composition, but the carbs and fats you have to flex on.
And why do you are you more flex on that?
Because I think too many rules too fast, unless someone has a very specific deadline and goal, if you, the rigidity of that can be overwhelming and hard to attain.
100 grams of protein. All right.
Does that seem attainable to you?
I don't know. I'm like, how many pieces of chicken is that? Yeah.
That's okay. No, it's, I mean, and you know, it takes some time. It takes some finessing. So, I'm going to go ahead and set your calories. 1850, I think, is a good place to start. We're going to track full macros. 100 grams of protein. Of course, it's like percentage, so it's not like on the dot 100 grams, but as close to that as possible. We'll put you at around 200, 220 grams of carbs and about 60 grams of fat, because we want your hormones and the rest of your body to be happy.
So this is what the MyFitness app looks like that Taylor wants me logging into. So as you can see breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then you just log each thing that you've eaten, and it shows you the calorie count, shows you the carbs, the fats, and the protein. But all of this is going to be fed into Trainerize, which is this app that we're looking at now, and that's what Taylor looks at, and she has set what my macros are in there. And this is showing kind of the breakdown, and if I'm hitting into the ranges that she has set for me on fats, carbs, protein. I'm doing an okay job on this, but I just wanted you to see what this looks like. And I'm going to show you a couple of what the days look like and how they break down. As you can see, I am having a bit of a hard time hitting the protein goal. I did it on this day. I went over actually. But yeah, it's not super complicated, which is great and makes things really simple for me and for Taylor to look at.
The time where you allow yourself to eat or nourishing your body, I want you to nourish your body. If you are hungry, that's the other thing. So a lot of times when we suppress our hunger cues, that sends our body a mixed signal, right? So if we're hungry and we don't honor that, we talk about dysregulating hormones. Your hunger is governed by hormones. Your hunger is governed by something that's going to tell you need to eat, and by something that tells you you're full. Both of those are hormones, and when we don't honor those, that's when we start to see a little bit of dysregulation.
I thought truly, because she had
and that's okay.
I was like, oh, it's bad for me to do that. This was like automatically
right. I totally get that. That's very valid, but that's my job, right? Like I hear those things and I go, okay, let's explore that. Let's explore why we believe this. Why are we, adhering to that food rule? And is it something that really serves us?
Yeah. No, I'm pleased. Checking out.
100%. Yeah. And especially if you are saying I'm hungry at 10 o'clock, but I'm not going to eat.
Yeah.
If you're hungry, I want you to eat because your body needs food and your body deserves food. Whether you've had 12,000 calories that day or 10, when you're hungry, allow yourself to give yourself that permission.
All right, cool. So I will, try to hit these goals, see how I feel.
I would say, especially for the protein as you're ramping up, don't feel like if you're averaging around 60 that you need to go right to 100 if that might not feel good on your digestive system. So maybe average between 60 to 80 and ramp yourself up.
Okay. Source of protein that you're like, these are better than these, or this just matters that it's protein?
To me, at the top of the pyramid is always going to be your food preference. What do you typically like for breakfast? What would be a go-to protein source for you?
I don't feel like I don't know how much protein I'm really getting with breakfast. Because my typical breakfast is like vanilla yogurt, strawberries, blueberries, and granola, and usually like coffee or tea.
Okay. Could you either do a Greek yogurt? Would that be an acceptable swap for you?
Yeah, I just this week swapped out for Greek yogurt. So I was like giving it a try. Okay.
Greek yogurt, and then maybe like some people will use like either a collagen protein, like collagen isn't like the optimal protein source, but like protein's protein at this point in the journey. I want you to consume more protein overall. At this point, do I care whether it's a collagen or a whey protein? No. I just want you to get into the habit of not only consuming more protein, and this is almost more important, but how do you feel when you consume more protein? Am I less hungry in between my meals? Do I sleep better? Are my workouts feeling stronger? So it's not just that I want you to eat protein, it's that I want you to notice whether that improves your life or if it's really challenging and that like there's some other barriers that we need to overcome. So let's just do a real quick and dirty rundown. So breakfast, let's say we're gonna have our Greek yogurt, maybe some collagen creamer, or even like Fairlife milk if you're a milk drinker. The ultra filtered milk, which has some of the lactose removed. I think all of the lactose removed. So it's lower carb, but higher protein milk. So like just like little tiny swaps like that start to accumulate over time. So maybe with the Greek yogurt, a little bit of ultra filtered milk, or even like a ready protein shake. Use this to your mixer. If you put milk in your coffee, that right there is gonna be like 30, 40 grams of protein at breakfast. Great. About lunch.
Lunch is, I mean, it changes for sure, but that's usually when I'll have something that's a rice or a pasta or like my more like carb heavy meal for lunch. But it changes, just depends on what I decided to shop for that week. But this week it's gonna be like I made rice and peas yesterday, and then just sausage and spinach with it because it's like the rice, kidney beans, and spinach.
Beans are a great source of protein and fiber. Love it. Could you incorporate? Are you a meat eater?
No, I mean, I love meat. I just like, so even with breakfast, like I can totally, it's just like, oh, should I add like a sausage, like a piece of sausage or ground turkey or whatever? Like I'm fine.
Honestly, I want you to add whatever it is you like eating. That's just kind of what I wanted to parse out to see if like maybe if we're having a sandwich at lunch and we're having 2 slices of turkey, maybe we have 4 in our sandwich. Yeah. So like that sort of thing, where we're just taking what we're already eating and maybe a larger portion of the protein. Because I think people hear like any sort of meat, like fish, chicken, pork, like we hear this is like a serving size, right? Like your palm. That's like the, but like one serving might not hit your protein requirements. So you might need more than one serving of protein at a meal. So like don't feel like, well, I had 1 serving of protein. That's just because I find it really funny because with other foods we will eat multiple servings, right? Like when you have your pasta, you probably have 2 to 3 servings of pasta without even thinking about it, right? But we think like, oh, like I just have a palm full of protein and that's what I need. It's like, no, you actually might need 2, or maybe even if you're taller and have more muscle mass, you need to do 3.
Mhm.
So again, it's not being like limited and held down by like
Is often like a salad. I usually do like either like romaine and spring mix with some quinoa and avocado, carrots, cucumbers, red cabbage, and then I like just doing big chicken thighs or salmon.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely don't know how much. It's usually just one chicken thigh, so I don't don't know how much it is.
So just make
But-
sure you're weighing, right? So
Yeah.
when you are assembling your salad, tear out the scale, put the bowl on the scale, or put the bowl on the scale, tear out the scale. And then that's a really easy way to capture each element, right? So like, and like obviously the greens might be less important to get the
Yeah.
actual number of grams, but with your protein, I would definitely say see how big a portion size you're giving yourself of protein, and whether it's high or low in terms of like what you're serving yourself. We can discuss that.
Mhm.
But another like fringe benefit of tracking and weighing things is you get a better eye for what portion sizes look like, what 3 ounces of chicken looks like versus 6. So it increases our perception when we're like eating out, let's say. We have a better understanding of like, oh, calorically what's on my plate.
Yeah. Okay. I'm so curious as to like what will happen or how I feel.
Yeah.
And then I have a little bit of a sweet tooth. I'm sure you saw. There's many a Wendy's
That's
frost
okay.
sweet on there, but
That's okay. I have no
it
problem with
switches
that.
around, and so it's usually like it'll be like 2 weeks of ice cream and then like 2 weeks of cookies. But I'm yeah.
totally fine with that. I
Cool.
am never going to be the coach who tells you stop eating X, Y, or Z.
Mhm.
We're going to figure out a way to like, if that's something you like and you enjoy, let's make sure it fits within our macros. And honestly, like, since it looks like you were on the lower side of your caloric intake, you can probably have one.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
But I think it's also like nutrition coaching is coming to the understanding that like you can have those foods as
Mhm.
part of your diet. It doesn't have to be like good and bad foods, and I only eat good foods if I'm trying to lose weight. Like,
Mhm.
you need to find a way to live your life in a way that's enjoyable for you. Because when we tend to pedestalize things, we go a little bit overboard in terms of when we do get to have them, right? That scarcity mindset of like, well, I don't know when I'm going to allow myself to have this again, so I better stuff my face with it.
Yeah. For sure. So I will spend the next week logging
Yes.
and paying attention to this. And
I'd also be interested in like what you kind of discover along the journey. Like, wow, I really thought I was only doing 3 ounces of pasta, and actually I was serving myself 6. Like, you might come to some interesting discoveries about your own habits as you track.
I mean, I definitely did not think I was like under eating anything. Like, I always feel like I'm eating a lot, like too much, if anything. But I don't think I'm necessarily good at gauging how much I should be taking and how much I exercise. The thing where I'm like, I'll eat the same amount probably on a day I did exercise and a day I didn't exercise. So not knowing what that effect is for sure.
I think so. Going back to you're saying you have a sweet tooth.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you can't have the shake, but this is kind of where it all comes together, right? So maybe we are eating smaller meals, and that's leaving us hungrier for snacks or for those sweet things. But if we could eat more nutrient dense, larger meals at mealtime, maybe that sweet tooth and those cravings might dissipate a little bit. So we might crave those things less.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you might be more satiated by the other food.
Exactly.
Or I just love cookies.
Which totally valid. But again, like that might be an interesting discovery that you find going along. And I only say that because it's happened to quite a few of my clients. They discover like, wow, when I allow myself to eat a full meal, like I'm talking instead of like a 300 to 400 calorie meal, maybe a 500 to 600 calorie meal, I stay full from breakfast to lunch and from lunch to dinner. I no longer feel like I have a mid-afternoon crash or like I need to raid the cupboard, between lunch and dinner. So there's lots of other little kind of things that you might discover along the way. little insights.
And we kind of move into like our first topic, which is I want her body, and establishing a baseline and realistic timelines. You know, as we talked about, it's this idea, this ideal body and like wanting someone else's body. How could people even kind of not visualize, but envision what can happen with their own bodies? Like, what would be your advice on that and figuring out where their baseline?
So in terms of just like raw numbers, or just getting them to understand that it's a marathon, maybe not a sprint?
Both. I think both. Yeah. Start with the marathon of it, the being realistic about timeline. Because right now, what we're doing, we're talking about working together for 3 months. I'll have the trainer for 2.5 months, and it's like, okay, how do I get there? And I would also be curious. We can come back to this, but like, would your advice be different to me if it was like, Taylor, I want to look like Tiana Taylor?
Yes, I think
it's
the unfortunate thing is like it's so individualized to the person, right? Kind of how we interact through our meetings is how I get a better understanding of like how you confront conflict, how you overcome obstacles when you encounter them. Because I can sell you a plan. I can say we can get you to where you want to be in X amount of time, and whether that's by the end of the summer or 6 months from now.
Mm-hmm.
But I need to see that you're willing to be flexible when this plan that we come up with might go off the rails, or you might encounter something that's unexpected. So for me, it's a lot as I get to know clients, like it's really important to understand, how they deal with conflict. And can they overcome it, or is this going to be something that we can't get past because something's going to happen along the way? They need to be able to pick themselves up and keep taking those steps forward. So I think also just making sure expectations are in line with effort, and whether the obstacle that they encounter is themselves and their own limiting beliefs and what they think they need to be doing to get where they need to go, or realistically what actually needs to happen. Making sure that we're on the same page for that as well.
Okay.
Because I can't have you being a grown adult, and I'm not saying you, but I can't have someone thinking that the only way for them to get to where they want to go is by eating 1,200 calories or by doing what they've already done, right? Because what you've done, your way has gotten you to me.
Yeah.
So we need to be open and flexible to trying new things, and then seeing where it goes from there.
I'm going to go get the DEXA scan tomorrow to see what that, where I'm at. Do you think doing a DEXA scan or an in-body is a way to kind of take stock of where you are now? And also, is there a way to help people know what their baseline is? Like, is that the way to figure out what your baseline is?
100%. And I like to have multiple touch points too. So baseline, not only in terms of like what your weight is, what your muscle mass is, and what your bone density is, but what your body physically is like. Because when we're talking about body comp, there might not be movement on the scale, but you will see a physical difference in someone's body. So having progress photos, that's another great touch point. Having the DEXA scan also is something that is raw data that's really nice to look at. But I think, again, going on along this process is a marathon. So having those other touch points to look back on and see like, wow, look, you started here and now you're here. And even though you feel like you're in the weeds now and you don't see it, like, here's the proof.
Yeah.
And even on the training side too. So that's why you're really smart to have a trainer, because they can say, wow, you came and started at this. Now you're doing this. Like, we are making progress, even though you feel like you're stuck.
Can you define what body recomp is, just so everyone knows? Yeah.
So body recomp is losing body fat while maintaining or growing muscle mass. If you're just in a cut or wanting fat loss, that's strictly going to be on the fat loss side and not necessarily along with growing and or maintaining muscle mass.
Yes, and we're trying to do a body recomp. And we're trying to tell people realistically what it would take to, achieve this ideal that maybe should not be the ideal, but we'll see. It'll comment on that throughout. Someone comes to you with the picture of whoever and they're like, that's what I want. What is your response to that?
Honestly, I'm gonna placate them a little,
Yeah.
only because I know what they're saying. Right? They're saying essentially, I want body recount. I want to lose body fat. I want to look either like I work out or like I am toned or muscular. So regardless of like their semantics, because obviously like I've trained in this and I have a better understanding of the terminology surrounding like what they want. If they come to me saying that, I'm gonna say, all right, let's do it. The process is still going to be the same, but again, I need to be able to speak their language and communicate to them, and not like immediately shoot them down and be like, well, you can't do that. Like it needs to be this way. Like that's not a way to build a relationship.
Great. Well, I think our first session was fantastic.
Yeah, awesome.
Yes. Okay, so we will be meeting again next week, and I will be logging and hopefully reporting on like how it's feeling to try, ramping up to these numbers.
I'm excited for you.